Hello, welcome. This is episode 17 of Let's Talk Immigration. First, I'm going to give an update of some important developments in some of our big group cases, and then I'm going to go to question and answers. Okay, so if you have a question, ideal place to type it is on Facebook or YouTube. I'm not sure if we're streaming to Telegram yet, but if you have a question, put it on YouTube or Facebook comments, and it'll show up for me, and I'll answer it. Okay. First, let's deal with let's say DVs for last, because some will show up later. The asylum seekers case. That's asylum seekers versus Johnson. It's a lawsuit where we represent. Give me just a second to see if this works. Yeah, this is a lawsuit where we represent. I guess it was originally 21, but now it's 49 asylum seekers in the group of 6,200 who their private data was compromised by ICE, was actually published on ICE's website. They come to the U.S. seeking asylum, protection from the United States, and ICE just puts their data on the website. So anyway, this is a class action. The development since last week was our judge has issued an order granting our motion to proceed under pseudonym. And what that means is that we don't have to use the real names of our new row plaintiffs, our new plaintiffs 22 to 49, just like we didn't have to use the real names of the plaintiffs row 1 through 21. That's good, because when someone's seeking asylum, you want to protect their privacy. So that's the development in that. I'm still working on the motion for class certification, and the other attorneys on our team for that case are eager for me to give them a draft of it so they can review it. So that's coming together. So let's skip to Naveed versus Blinken. This is a lawsuit for Islamabad immigrant visa applicants. We have 10 plaintiff couples, IR1, who are Pakistani beneficiaries. And so far, I think we've got 2 that were scheduled, 1 that transferred to another embassy and will probably be scheduled soon. So the government on Monday filed a reply in support of their motion to dismiss. Basically, the only interesting thing here, I thought, was that track factor 6, I caught them. Okay, at the last hearing, Attorney Ramos for the U.S. government was arguing that the 30-day period that Congress intended for the limit on the processing of adjudication, she said that started at the interview. And that is not true. That's what Congress meant, and how State Department has interpreted it in the past is that from the time you're DQ, that's when the 30 days start, and you should be scheduled for an interview 30 days from then, or 60 days if you're a family preference category. That's what the State Department should strive for. Okay. So anyway, she tried to say that the 30 days started after the interview, and that was a bad faith argument, is the point that I made in our opposition to the motion to dismiss. And Ms. Ramos says that there is no bad faith because, and I made an ad hominem attack, which means like I'm attacking the person. Well, I'm saying she's the one that made the argument. So I don't know how this is an ad hominem attack. I'm not attacking her as a person. I'm attacking the argument that she made, right? So, but she's trying to claim that when she made the argument, she did not realize that it was wrong. And she points to a court order from Judge Boasberg for 3 years ago, and quotes that basically out of context to try to support her position that she didn't know better. So it is interesting that they are admitting that that was a bad faith argument, because that's one of the arguments that was an answer to a question that was very important to our judge in that case. And he actually asked that question twice. And so I think that, I could be mistaken on that. So I think it's interesting that now she's coming clean and saying, oh, that is a bad faith argument. Well, she's not saying it's a bad faith argument. She's admitting that it's not a legitimate argument. So that's the update in Naveed. The government filed a reply. So basically, here's how this works. When a motion is filed, then there's an opposition. So motion, opposition, and then a reply, and then a judge makes a decision. Judge can make a decision with a hearing or without a hearing. There's one more thing coming up, and that is the government is going to have to file the judge ordered them to file a certified list of the contents of the administrative record, and they have until March 9th to do that. 8 more days. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully they'll just issue visas to all my Naveed plaintiffs so they don't have to do that. Okay, so the last update is Goodluck versus Biden, which is also like Gomez, DV 2020 and 2021, right? Because the Gomez appeal and the Ray appeal and the Goodluck appeal are all like, they're consolidated before the appeals court now. So on the 22nd of February, the government filed a letter suggesting that the Supreme Court decision supports their view. Whenever a party in an appeal does this, there's a rule. It's Rule 28J that says basically that it has to be a short letter, like only 3 pages, and they can't make arguments. So the case they're talking about is Aurello versus McDonnell, which is about veterans benefits, and it's not really analogous, but they tried to argue that it is. So they filed that letter telling the appeals court, hey, this case is like that case, so that means that's another reason to find for our favor. And on the 27th, a couple days ago, Jesse Bless, who is one of the class counsel for the Gomez class for DV 2020 selectees, filed this letter explaining basically appellants are wrong. And he did a very good job explaining why the government was wrong about their letter. I mean, there's nothing really more to write here. Someone asked me, why don't we file a letter also? And I'm like, well, because it would say the same thing. And courts don't like you to duplicate, say the same thing over and over. I think Jesse did a great job in this letter. So good job, Jesse. Okay, so the next question I'm going to get is, when will we get the outcome of the appeal? And I'm going to go ahead and let you know. I don't know that. No one can know that. That's not how litigation works. Federal judges have discretion over when they issue their decisions. So let's see how many people ask that question. Okay. So we're going to the Q&A section of Let's Talk Immigration now. I'll take a break and drink an RC. If you all had RC Cola, I grew up on RC Cola. My parents owned a little bitty grocery store, and I got these for free as a young child, and I would go. So Okay. James, good evening, Mr. Morrison. Good evening, James. You are my favorite. Omar says, hi, you're my favorite too. Okay. Alex says, save DB 2020. We are trying. James says, please interpret the last update. I think I just attempted to interpret it. If somebody has questions, you can drop them on Facebook or YouTube. Any news for DV20? I just covered the news for the development in the appeal. That's the only news. Hani says, good morning. I have a practical question. How the panel of judges in the DC Circuit is assigned to a case. Is it by random? Great question, Hani, and yes, it is. People always ask you a question about what's next if we win the good luck appeal. That's true, they do. But let's suppose that we lose. Will you try an in-bank hearing? Because the government clearly had an advantage with the panel assigned to our case. Hanny, I disagree that the government had an advantage with the panel assigned to our case. It wasn't my dream panel, of course, but I think that all three of the judges understood that we have that we have a good case. Okay, that there's the Judge Mehta and Judge Chutkan had good reason to find the way they did in their orders. So impossible to predict what they will do, but I'm a little optimistic there. Okay, let's say that we lose the appeal on what happens next. Well, I guess the first thing we need to say is, what do we lose the appeal on? Because of the three group lawsuits, the Gomez, Goodluck, and Ray, each of them have a different statement of issues. And there's some overlap, I think, in the first three issues, maybe the first four issues, and then all of them have a fifth or sixth issue that's a little different. So it depends upon what combination of, hey, they uphold this part of the decision, but not that part, because it could be that they uphold parts of a decision that get everybody what we're looking for, so we're not going to worry about the parts that we lost. Or it could be the opposite, that the part that they don't uphold, the parts that we lose on, are very important to us. So we really have to wait and see what the opinion says to know whether or not the we would want to appeal to an en banc, which means to the entire circuit court or to the Supreme Court. We want to see what the opinion said and what it does. I'll give you an example. One of the issues for like the Ray appeal, for example, is whether or not Judge Chutkan could grant relief to non-plaintiffs. The Ray plaintiffs themselves do not have an interest in fighting that issue if they lose, right? So that's one of the issues that it'll be interesting to see what happens with, right? So can't make decisions on what we fight or don't fight until we see what the Circuit Court of Appeals does. Okay, I think I've tried to answer that question. I don't know if I did. Will you try in-bank hearing was your question, and definitely going to consider it, but it depends upon what the opinion says and what issues they found for us and which ones they found against us. It's Armstrong from Cameroon. Hello, Armstrong from Cameroon. Kennedy plaintiff, following up from live from Cameroon. I love that I'm talking to someone from Cameroon today. Hello. I've already given an update on DB 2020. Basically, we just had this procedural update with the letters and still waiting for the outcome of the appeal. And as a Kennedy plaintiff from Cameroon, you are a Gomez class member. So you have to wait for the outcome of the appeal. Ahmad says, hi there. What is the chance of getting a student visa while waiting for our family-based IV to become current? Hello, Ahmad. It is low. But also it depends on what family-based visa you're talking about. If you're a derivative on your parents' petition, you aren't the ones that you didn't file that petition, so it doesn't show that you have any immigrant intent. So it's maybe more possible in that situation. But if you're immediate relative, which is like your spouse or your parent is a resident or citizen of the United States, the State Department is going to presume that you would overstay that visa. And so they would be very unlikely to approve it, to approve a non-immigrant visa, like a tourist or a student. There are exceptions, but they're extremely rare. And when the State Department is asked that question, they always say, oh, no, you can apply. You can apply. Well, of course you can apply because they take your money, right? So they will be happy to take your money and then say, no, you're denied. So I don't even think it's worth trying, to be honest, unless depends on the family category you're talking about. But if it's your spouse or your parent who's in the U.S., I don't think it's worth trying. Okay. Please save DV 2021. Thanks a lot for your invite. I'm trying. Hello from Sahir. Hello, Sahir. Atia. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's all the questions, and we're only 17 minutes in. Are you telling me that there's no more questions? Because if that's true, I don't think I have anything else to talk about, and I can end early. One more point. Farshad told me to bring this up. There's been a lot of discussion, particularly in the Iranian community, on how long visa applicants should wait after going into AP before filing a mandamus lawsuit. Because there's some attorneys out there that's saying, oh, you should have to wait 6 months. You have to wait a year, crazy things like this. During the Trump administration, that was true. During the Biden administration, that is not accurate in my view. In my view, if you are refused a visa application and they give you a DS 5535, they have triggered what is called an unreasonable delay, in my view. The DS 5535 was a form created for vetting of the Muslim ban, of Trump's travel ban. Okay, so if they're giving you that form after your interview, they're unreasonably delaying your application. First of all, the vetting for that form is automated. So once they give that information to DC, all that DC has to do is and it gives an answer on whether or not your vetting cleared. It's automated. So why does it take weeks or months or years? Doesn't make any sense at all. So if you are a visa applicant who attended an interview and went into AP and you want to sue the State Department, I recommend that you do that and you don't wait. Just go ahead and do it. We are very competitive on AP mandamus lawsuits. We only charge $4,000 for that, and we file a lot of them, and they work. Okay. That does not mean that the State Department could change their strategy at any time and say, we're going to fight all these. I hope in a little way, I hope that they do, because I think that we would win. Okay. The DS 5535 is a form for vetting of the travel ban. That's how they rolled this form out. So they are obviously treating some Muslim majority countries just like they were treating them under the Trump administration. And if they want to go into a court and talk about that, I'll bring the cameras. Let's do it. So I don't think they're going to change their strategy. That's basically what I'm getting at. If you want to talk about a mandamus, you can talk to Farshad if you need to talk in Farsi, or you can talk to me directly. And that'll be great. Okay. Henny says, even it was not my original plan, but with different DV cases, travel bans, I learned a lot about the American system, political and judiciary. I'm thinking about doing law school if I get my DV visa. It's possible to do law school in U.S. after a math degree? Yes, Hanny, it is. And that is an excellent degree to prepare you for law, because in math there are rules and in law there are rules, right? So I think that people that study math do particularly well, both on the LSAT, the test you take to get into law school, but also as lawyers. And we need more lawyers, and we need more lawyers from the immigrant community. I can think of 3 or 4 DV 2020 clients who came to the US and who are in law school now, right? One of them was a former paralegal of ours. So 2 of them, actually. So I do recommend the study of law. In my view, we need more lawyers as long as we need more justice. And we definitely need more justice. So I'm glad that you were inspired. Omar says, how long does need to distribute visas after we win the appeal? Well, the United States government put a man on the moon, okay? We built some incredible things, the Panama Canal. I think that if they want to issue these visas quickly, they will issue them visas quickly. If they do not, they won't. So it isn't up to me. It's up to the State Department and also to the judges, because if they're unreasonable, Judge Chutkan and Judge Mehta could crack the whip and give them a deadline. Okay, I've seen it before with a case we won in 2020 called Young versus Trump. Judge Chin in the Northern District of California, the government filed a motion for clarification. And they're like, how long do we have to do this? Because, surely you don't want us to rush. And he's like, oh, you want me to clarify? Schedule everybody for an interview within 20 days. I've seen Judge Kogan do that in the Al Harvey case in New York, Eastern District of New York. So it's been a few years ago, but basically judges have that power to compel actions from the executive branch very quickly if they are irritated and want them to happen. But they're also reasonable. So if the government has a good reason not to rush, they'll be more flexible. I don't think that they can really keep pointing at COVID as the reason why they are going slow and not organized forever. So we'll see. It depends on when the decision comes. Oh my gosh, it's Lisbeth. Hello, Lisbeth, up there where you are. I won't say it, but I am fine, and it's good to see you. And I'm glad that you're hanging out and paying attention to what's going on. Hand pink waving. I don't know what that means. Somebody can tell me someday. Are there any other opportunities to get DV plaintiffs into the U.S. legally other than student visas? Yes, but it's a very individual situation, right? I mean, if you have $800,000, maybe you could do an investment visa. If you have an immediate relative in the U.S., maybe they could petition you. So you would need to give me more information. So James says, we've waited so long. Yes, I know. Please help us win. I know God is in control. We will win. If you know any other immigrant visa programs, please email me. Okay, so the U.S. is very restrictive with respect to immigration. Okay, I think I saw yesterday a tweet that said that 60% of the countries in the West, or maybe the countries worldwide, take in more immigrants than the United States does every year. So if you're playing the DV lottery, usually it's because you don't have another option, and this is your only option. I mean, if you have an immediate relative in the U.S. that they can petition for you, right? Or a U.S. citizen who's your fiance, they can petition for you. these things have to be bona fide. You can't fake them. So, or if you have a lot of money, you could do an investment visa. Or if you are extremely talented, you could do one of these genius visas, right? If you've been published a lot of places. So there are other paths, but they're not available to most people. We see some embassies didn't distribute visas like Baghdad because they're closed, or we get our visas all because there is a percent each embassy to give visas. I think it's 7%. I've never seen that 7% come into play. I'm sure that Fred Simon has. He loves to talk about that 7%. I don't think it's going to come up though, because generally they don't even get close to giving 7% of the visas to any one country, right? I mean, there's so many countries. Like in Good Luck, we have like over, let me see here. I had a meme about that. 141 countries are represented in the Good Luck case. Am I doing this right? Present. Check that out. Good Luck had 141 countries. So for one of those countries to get more than 7% of those visas, that would be sort of amazing. So I don't think the 7% is going to come into play. So let me see here. I want to check something because you said that Baghdad is not working. And I have not looked yet because somebody said the monthly statistics for January have been published. Is that true? That is true. So let's look at that. I know you all thought I was going to stop, and I keep talking. I'm sorry. January IV issuances by post and visa class. So in January, Baghdad issued one CR1, it's a spouse of a U.S. citizen, one FX, that's a spouse of a green card holder who's waited a long time, 3 R1s, spouses of U.S. citizens, 4 R2s, children of U.S. citizens, minor children under 18, 3 R5s, it's parents of U.S. citizens. One of those was our client, actually, one of those 3. And they had waited a long time. Okay, SQ2 and SQ3 are SIVs, like interpreters and allies of the U.S., and they issued 6 of those. So this is really strange because there's a lot of talk of like Baghdad's open, and then we see this thing here where it looks like they've issued like 25 visas, and so that, to me, that doesn't feel like they're open. And none of these visas were DVs. So if I'm not mistaken, Baghdad hasn't issued any DVs 2023 visas, right? So if you are a DV 2023 selectee and you are assigned to Baghdad, you may consider transferring to another embassy. I don't see any DVs issued in December in Baghdad either. So things are not looking good for Baghdad. Okay. Let's see if there's any more last minute questions that come in. How many Good Luck are from Baghdad just to count our chances in our mind? Well, it doesn't work like that. I don't know how many Good Luck plaintiffs are from Iraq. I don't know that. But also, I don't think it really has a lot to do with your chances. What's interesting about Iraqis is they tend to be mobile and they can go to other embassies. For when these let's say we win these appeals and the State Department starts issuing these visas, and people that will have an advantage are people that have mobility. If you have visas to different countries where you could transfer your case potentially to a country where the embassy does not have a backlog, it's going to give you an advantage. So be thinking about that if it's an option for you now. Yo says, can an F1 visa petitioner recapture a case number that has expired onto a new application so one can bypass the wait times? This is hypothetically for someone who doesn't meet CISPA protection. Recapture a case number. I don't understand the fact pattern there exactly. So message me directly with that. James says, I have family in the U.S., but they don't know which immigrant visa program that suit me. You know any? Well, James, all you said is family. You didn't tell me the relationship of the family in the U.S. If it is your spouse or your parent or your sibling, there is a path. If it is your cousin or your uncle or your aunt, there is not a path. Good day, every day, waiting for your updates. Thank you for your efforts. You're welcome. Thank you for being nice. Omer says, they interviewed a lot of DV 2023, but they didn't share it yet. They won't. I know someone issued his visas in Baghdad. So I guess Omar, you're saying that they've scheduled and issued visas in Baghdad in February, because we know that they didn't in January. So there were 28 days in February that we don't know about. So we'll wait and see. We'll have those statistics someday. But thank you for that feedback. When can we expect a decision for Good Luck Gomez? We cannot expect one. Expect is a verb for when someone has an obligation to do something in a certain amount of time. What you can do is hope for a decision, and we hope for the decision to be soon. Okay, that's how litigation works. We're not going to set expectations, because that's not going to be good. People are going to be disappointed. James, your sister and your brother, if they are U.S. citizens, either one of them or both can petition for you. If they're green card holders, they cannot. That process takes between 15 and 20 years from the time you start it. So I hope they start it soon. Okay. And it starts with an I-130 form. They can file it themselves, $535, or they can use an attorney to represent them in preparing and filing it. Miriam says, when can we expect a decision for Good Luck Gomez? Miriam, you asked the same question twice. Come on. I know this thing's confusing. It says you did it at the same time. So, Mr. Morrison, my question is, can the Court of Appeal ruling take more than a year? Hisham, it already has. They filed the appeal 15 months ago. So, yes. Okay. There's no limits on federal judges on how fast or how slow, they have to work. And also, this isn't because they're going slow. They have a lot of cases on their docket. Sai says, can you talk about wage-based H-1B allocation proposal? No, Sai, I have no expertise in that whatsoever. I do not practice in the H-1B space. And if I talked about it, I wouldn't be giving you the best information. Better to talk about somebody that practices more in that space. So with that, thank you for tuning in to episode 17 of Let's Talk Immigration. If you have any specific questions that weren't covered here, you can email me directly, curtis@morrisonurena.com, or hit me up on Telegram, curtis@law. One more thing I was going to say, if you're interested in Morrison Urena representing you in an asylum claim, direct those inquiries directly to my law partner, Rafael Urena, because he has more expertise in that, and he is overseeing that. I'm more the mandamus guy. So thank you very much for being such a wonderful captive audience. Have a good week.